It's most definitely hurtful because it's an expression of hatred.
Tonight, a Spokane rabbi has a message for her community after anti-Semitic vandalism at the temple Beth Shalom.
Today was just the beginning as temperatures are set to become the coldest that we've experienced so far this winter.
Plus, new tonight, millions of dollars in rental assistance for those impacted by the pandemic, but the demand expected to far exceed the supply when more money could be made available.
Plus, the Zags faced off against the BYU Cougars tonight.
Our Brenna Green breaks down the game. We start with some breaking news tonight. The search crews have found a body following an avalanche east of Snoqualmie Pass. Washington State Patrol confirms that he was a member of WSP Patrol. The trooper has been identified as Trooper Steve Hooley, a 28-year veteran of the department.
The avalanche happened in the French Cabin Creek area just north of Cle Elum Lake around 12:30 this afternoon. Over the weekend, the area got hit hard with snow and strong winds, which of course is two factors that contributes to avalanches. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Regina On.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Mark Hanrahan. Our other top story tonight, police say Temple Beth Shalom on Spokane South Hill was vandalized with anti-Semitic graffiti this morning. A swastika was painted on the side of the building, and the Holocaust Memorial on the campus was also damaged.
And I was there earlier this afternoon, spoke with the temple's Rabbi Tamar Molino, and she tells me although the vandalism and graffiti isn't new to the temple, today's incident hit especially hard.
The community is in shock and in grief and trying to be strong.
Rabbi Tamar Molino has been the rabbi at the Temple Beth Shalom for 5 years. Unfortunately, this isn't the first time she's seen something like this.
We had a graffiti incident about 5 years ago as well, but not quite as aggressive as this one.
Spokane police say one side of the building and a Holocaust memorial have been damaged.
Very difficult to know that there are people out there that hate you that much just for being Jewish and want to be able to and have intention of expressing that.
Police are looking over surveillance cameras and have collected samples of the spray paint. As for Rabbi Molino, she says although this is hurtful and wrong, she wants the Jewish community to continue being strong and push forward.
It's very important for our community to continue living meaningful, strong, and Jewish lives and not to be afraid and to continue being who we are.
And tonight, a message to the Spokane community.
It is important to speak up against hatred and bigotry and anti-Semitism and racism in whatever form and wherever they see it.
Now, the synagogue's surveillance camera system did capture images of a lone white male suspect. The man was wearing blue jeans, black boots, a dark-colored jacket with a hood, a dark-colored beanie-style stocking cap, black gloves, a red mask, and sunglasses on his head.
If you have any information that could help in this investigation, you are urged to call Crime Check at the number right there on your screen. Our other top story tonight is the cold temperatures heading our way. Some days we might see temperatures as low as the single digits, at least in the overnight hours.
Are you ready for that?
I guess it doesn't really matter, right? It's coming our way.
Well, Thomas Patrick joining us here live now. Thomas, what is the lowest temperature that we can expect?
Yeah, easily single digits by the end of the week. The lowest I have in Spokane for our forecast, 4 degrees, and I would not be surprised to see some of our northern communities get below zero again later on in the week. The cold air is starting to infiltrate southward, and for us it's coming from the north and east. So when we get that northeasterly flow, as you heard Tom earlier in the day and early in the broadcast, that is where our very cold air comes from. It's a continental polar air mass that is just going to completely cover the entire U.S. by late this week. So that means our low temperatures for tonight, tomorrow morning, easily into the teens. So very cold morning. And our highs stay below freezing all day long. I'm looking at upper 20s for high temperatures. At least we get a mostly sunny afternoon, but that sun's going to help a little bit, but maybe not as much as we'd like it to be. So mostly in the 20s, maybe a few leftover 30s or just above the freezing mark, like what we're seeing in central Washington for tomorrow. But then that cold air just sticks around all week long. So in those darkest blue shades that you see on the entire map of the U.S., well below average temperatures, covering the lower 47.5. It's really just South Florida that's going to be exempt from this polar air. So this is easily the coldest weather we've experienced, not just this winter, but even last winter as well. So it's been about 2 years since we've seen temperatures quite this cold in the inland Northwest.
All right, Thomas, thank you very much. The Zags tonight facing off against their only real competition in conference with BYU.
But it sure didn't look like it tonight. Brenna Green joining us now to break down another dominant Gonzaga performance. Brenna.
Yeah, one of the complaints about the Zags in recent games is that they haven't come out firing on all cylinders to start contests. The Bulldogs certainly didn't struggle there tonight in their 82-71 win. First, Corey Kispert with the transition three. That put the Zags up 3-0. Then Joel Ayayi underneath the hoop. 5-0 Bulldogs. Andrew Nemhard, who got the start tonight over Anton Watson, gets it to 8-0. Everybody gets a three. Drew Timme eaten as well. 11-2 now. And then Suggs with a soaring fast break layup. Literally every starter contributed to a 13-2 run to start the game that spanned the first 2.5 minutes. Yeah, it was that fast. Drew Timme and Mark Few talked post-game about that quick start, and Drew said last year's loss to BYU certainly motivated the squad this time around.
Still a bitter taste in my mouth, and the guys that have still been here, and even the new guys understood the severity of this game, and it's kind of the same thing happened last time. We kind of kicked them in the rear end at our place.
This team all year has been, when they feel like they're threatened or obviously they know the guys across from them are more than capable of taking them down, then they've always responded pretty darn well.
By the way, shout out to Drew tonight, 20 and 13 for him. Halfway through the second half was when Jalen Suggs really came alive. The floater there, just pure perfection, 62-47 Zags with 11 minutes to go. Next possession, he switches it up, hits the three. The next possession, Suggs cutting in the lane. That's cash money, folks. 67-29 Zags. Minute and a half later. And let's just make this simple this time. Suggs blows past his defender. He finished tonight with 24 points and was 10 of 18 from the field in just 26 minutes of play. A masterful performance by him. Zags, like I said, win 82-71. And one of the things that we really want to hit on today is the fact that the Zags are not probably going to be playing on Thursday after their game against Santa Clara was canceled today due to COVID issues within the Broncos program. Like I said, I just don't expect the Zags to be able to find an opponent to fill that game. Back to you guys.
All right, Brenna, thank you very much. Some good news tonight for people in Spokane struggling to pay rent. The city has accepted several $1 million in federal money for rent assistance, and there's more on the way.
But is it enough, and how will it be allocated? Our political reporter Casey Decker joins us now live to explain. Casey?
Well, there are still a lot of details to work out, but the basic gist, if because of COVID you're unable to make rent, mortgage, or utility payments, eventually in Spokane you'll be able to apply for this money. There are two pots of money on the table. The first, roughly $3.5 million coming from the first stimulus package, the CARES Act. In addition to helping people with their payments, this money could also go toward homeless shelters. Today, City Council voted unanimously to accept the grant and create a fund for it to be doled out of later. The second, about $6.7 million, coming from the second stimulus. This one doesn't mention anything about shelters, and Council hasn't yet voted on it, but it's expected to be accepted as well. In terms of how people can apply for it, that still hasn't been worked out. It probably won't be until sometime in March. Then people with COVID-related debts can begin applying.
It's pretty much first come, first serve, as long as they're eligible and they've signed up. It's first come, first serve at this point.
Landlords whose tenants are behind on rent because of the pandemic can also apply as long as the money is used to forgive the rent. The hope is that demand for this assistance will be manageable, but it seems likely it will still exceed supply.
This is millions of dollars, so that's great, but we believe the need is far greater than that. And if we don't do something about it, once the eviction moratorium goes away, a lot of people will be homeless. So we're really trying to get those debts paid, and the landlords can then pay their mortgages, and people can stay in their housing.
Now, again, these funds are not available yet. We do expect that they'll be distributed through some sort of nonprofit agency when the time comes. We'll be sure to update you when we know more about that. Regina, Mark?
All right, Casey, thank you. Well, tough news for the residents of Pine City and Malden. FEMA has denied Washington State's request for individual assistance for Whitman County.
This funding would have provided grants for Malden and Pine City households to rebuild their homes. Governor Inslee's office will not file an appeal for the denial because historically appeals are not successful. Last week, FEMA approved public assistance to Whitman County, which is used for infrastructure. That includes government buildings, roads, and light poles. We spoke to Public Lands Commissioner Hillary Franz about the move tonight.
frankly, I was shocked. I mean, I remember very well, still to this day, the horrifying images of Malden, walking those streets where it literally looked like a bomb had gone off. Home after home completely destroyed down to the foundation with just the chimney and the foundation there.
Malden Mayor Dan Hardwood is disappointed by that decision. He says that federal assistance could have helped 60% of people who were underinsured or not insured at all.
For the citizens in Malden, my heart goes out, because this could have been, through the grants, a way for them to make a down payment on a home.
And just for some context, individual assistance was denied for victims of the Carlton Complex wildfires back in 2014 and again in 2015 after the Okanagan Complex fires. Both were at the time the biggest fires Washington had ever seen. But traditionally, that individual assistance is very hard to get. There's no concrete threshold for being approved or denied. It has been approved after other natural disasters like hurricanes in the south or tornadoes in the Midwest, or the massive Camp Fire in California 2 years ago. Here in Washington, it's only been approved once in the last decade. That was the Oso mudslide back in 2014. If you're eligible for a coronavirus vaccine, you have been waiting for an appointment, and you could be in luck. Where you can go to book your appointment this week in both Washington and North Idaho, plus later.
I was just shocked. I couldn't believe it, not my brother.
Tonight we hear from the brother of the Meade High School student who was shot and killed at a Spokane Valley party on Saturday night.